My name is Charmaine Diepgrond. I am one of the house coordinators here at the community. The problem is more than one-fold, because we have quite a number of young volunteers that come in every year, and they stay for a year. They have various different skills that they bring along with them. On the whole, I'd say they 17, 18, 19-year-olds that have just left home for the first time and have not had much experience around cooking. So for the majority of them, cooking a meal is their first experience. So there's that. There's the behavioural experiences from the residents on the other side. So you have people that will eat certain types of food, not eat certain types of food, or have different requirements, like diabetes, for instance, and, where they have specialised meal requirements. And then the other part is that it's generally quite large tables that you cook for. So it's not just a meal for 2 or 3 people, but it could be up to about 15 or 20 people that you have to cook for at the same time. For the first couple of times that a co-worker arrives, you because you don't know what to expect from the person, you have to gauge what their skill level is. It is basically a one-to-one experience, because you have to be there, plan the meal along with them, then run through the steps of preparing the meal. So basically you're cooking the meal with them as your assistant, and then as time goes by and their skill level comes up to par, then you can allow them to make the menus and take over. The process takes a good 3 months to get somebody right from scratch until they feel comfortable enough so that you just say, here you go, Jack, make us something for lunch. Okay. At the minute I've got quite a few Filipinos, so obviously the really nice thing about it is that part of the or the Filipino part of the menu, the Filipino taste will then come through in what we're eating. 3 months ago it was Korean, so their style of cooking or their type of food would then come in. What you'll find is that the residents have quite a large palette of tastes that they are used to, because every single person that comes in new will bring in a new flavour or a new taste or a new style of cooking. Your mealtime is your most important time, and everything is arranged around it. At the minute we've got a mealtime in the middle of the day. So most of the morning is allocated for preparing the meal. The residents are all involved in taking part of the process, of the cooking process. So they would all be allocated a day in which they then have to cook a meal as well. Pretty much a universal problem, because the systems are all the same. So you first off, you get the people who are preparing the meals that are not necessarily trained nutritionists or trained chefs or trained cooks. It's just regular Joe Bloggs that prepares the meal. So there's always that learning process in there. You are working with people that have issues around food, because they use their food as comfort, they use their food because they're bored, for various other reasons. This is actually quite a major problem, is that you have people that, because they are fussy eaters, they will go for unhealthy choices, food choices. Case in example is one of my residents that would only have fish fingers and chips. And unless you have a little bit of knowledge, or unless you have a love for food, it is really difficult to get them to then, or to get the person who's cooking to go out of the comfort zone of, it's so easy to bang in fish and chips. It's the easiest thing on earth, onto the tray and into the oven. It doesn't take any imagination. But then with cooking, the imagination is something that's taught as well. It's not something that always comes naturally. Some people just don't have that feel for food. So I suppose you need a standard. You have these young people that come in that are fairly intimidated by the fact that they now have to prepare a meal for so many people. They do not know the first thing about where the balance of a meal comes in. So you need like a measuring yard, a measuring stick. So and also a couple of ideas. So like in terms of the nutrition program, what really worked is that it gives you a couple of starting points. So you have like a recipe that everybody has had before, so you can feel confident in putting that out there. And then once you're confident about it, then you can take that recipe and then you can make it your own. You can add your own flavors to it. But it does give you the standard. Okay. It gives you a handbook of things that you can teach without having to teach somebody. So it takes away a little bit of the time that you have to spend there. You can say, here, why don't you pick something off of that, and we can make sure that you've got the ingredients, and then set somebody off. So you don't necessarily have to be there in person, but you can allow them to carry on and just run the recipe as it stands.